I have spent quite some time playing Final Fantasy XIV, but up until Endwalker, I wasn't really interested in PvP content. I managed to get all the wins required for the 3 Garou mounts back in Stormblood, but that's pretty much it. Several years later, I am playing PvP regularly, so what has changed and what got me into PvP? Endwalker was released. There was a plethora of changes and new content. One of such content was a new PvP game mode called Crystalline Conflict, and there was also the introduction of Battle Pass, which is something I try to complete on 2 separate characters because I don't really have a life out in the real world. Suffice to say, I have sunk a lot of games into it, and I thought why not share my thoughts and experience about PvP. I should preface this. 14 was designed and built with PvE in mind. PvP was added 4 years after its original release. This means already established gameplay elements don't really work well with PvP, such as the way ping is calculated in this game, how the targeting system works, or even the matchmaking. So I won't really criticize these aspects of the game. It might be surprising, but there's 3 main game modes with their own maps and rules: Frontlines, Rival Wings, and Crystalline Conflict. I'm gonna come forward to say this. I couldn't really cover Rival Wings because the game mode is about as empty as my hopes and dreams, but since I'm already talking about it, might as well continue. Rival Wings is a 24 versus 24 game mode, and 14 players dubbed it the 14's version of League of Legends. I can understand the thought process behind it, but I feel like it gives off a negative vibe around it because of how League of Legends is generally perceived within the gaming sphere. But that's how word of mouth marketing works. If I gotta be honest with you, this being dubbed the 14's League might also project the false idea of something similar to the Summoner's Rift, which is something I am trying to get away from when I play this game, and maybe this impression might be extended to other players. It heavily reminded me of Twisted Treeline since it has a very similar map layout, and I think marketing it as such might work a little bit better because 14 is notorious to be the online equivalent of a retirement home. Therefore, older League of Legends players that are active on 14 will probably know what it means and what it entails, so it might even get them interested in trying this game mode out. You know, my opinion and interest in this game mode has changed while I was looking into Rival Wings, and I really got interested in trying it out. Unfortunately, I couldn't really play it while I was making this video, so I don't have anything to show you, but don't worry about it, I have footage for the following. Frontline is the most popular game mode because it's really easy to understand and it's the only PvP queue attached to a daily duty. It's very important because it gives an absurd amount of EXP, which is arguably the main motivator for any players. It puts 72 players on the same map, divided into 3 teams of 24 players, and that is the only rule set in stone. Other elements that form frontlines, such as map and rules, rotate daily, which makes the game mode feel refreshing. I have a lot of things to talk about here, like my experience, and I will also mention some tips because why not make it somewhat educational at the same time. The first frontline I want to talk about is Seal Rock. The main rule is to take control of Tomolith that will randomly appear on the map. These nodes will be up for 2 minutes, then there will be some downtime before new one spawns. This downtime is fluctuating a lot, it could be 2 seconds or 1 minute. Once you control one of these Tomolith, you will have to defend them, otherwise enemy teams will be able to come in and contest your position over these nodes, defeat your team, and take control over this active Tomolith to score points for themselves. Unfortunately, defending isn't something a lot of people do because there are just 24 players thinking differently with different communication channels, and when you think defending is the best solution, maybe half your team might not think the same and they will be pushing enemy teams. Ons al-Hakir is very similar to Steel Rock. The only difference is the inability of taking nodes back. I wasn't really expecting a simple rule change to have such an impact on the rhythm of the game, but damn. It made teamfights and skirmishes longer while also making the game mode feel overall more active and aggressive than Steel Rock. It may not be surprising to hear it, but Ons al-Hakir is the most popular iteration of Frontline due to its simplicity and its constant fighting. I can genuinely see the difference in player interest by how fast queue times are when this is the daily game mode when I usually play in the evening. There is one thing I have noticed, but I doubt sweaty Frontline gamers even bother sharing the information with non-experienced players, but I will say it. There is 2 important math formula to remember, and they are related to node rarities. 2 B ranks equals 1 A rank, and 3 B ranks equals 1 S rank. So, strategically speaking, if you have your base surrounded by B ranks, and there is 1 A rank 5 continent away from your base, getting all the B ranks, conceding the A rank, and then going for a flank would give you more points than insisting in getting that A rank and losing all your fights. The third game mode is called Shatter. The core gameplay is to destroy Icebound Tomelith to get points. These Tomelith have defined spawn location. There is one north, one in the middle, one southeast, and one southwest. Only 2 out of 4 will spawn at the same time. Usually there is one team chilling with one near their base, and the other 2 teams are fighting each other. At around 12 minutes and 30 seconds remaining on the clock, smaller Tomelith will spawn, and you have to destroy them too. That is all there is to this game mode, and I guess it's time for me to give you an advice. I highly recommend you to play with your map open 24/7 because you can see the enemy's position, which is super important because you can see somebody coming your way and try to flank you, or you can orchestrate a flank with this tool at your disposal. Besides this, flanking enemies is also very potent because you can farm a little bit of battle high and assure you to win following teamfights. Speaking of flanks, there is one thing I highly recommend you to do, and I am still trying to apply this to my own gameplay, but it is to lock your camera at a specific angle when you are hitting a Icebound Tomelith, because there are several favored flank spots used by a lot of players, and locking your camera towards that position will help you see them from a mile away and prevent you from dying. The final Frontline game mode is Borderland Ruins. The map is divided into 9 areas to capture and a big arena in the middle of the map. The main objective of this game mode is to juggle between taking control over these bases and going mid to solve PvE mechanics. That's all there is to it. My impression of this game mode is the heavy emphasis on organization. I am not saying other game modes don't require any degree of organization, but I feel like this is more visible here. It's always a back and forth, and you have to find the right balance with 23 other players. Fun fact about this game mode, while I'm at it, I have played 14 long enough to see this game mode disappear and be reintroduced. Apart from this fun fact, I have one advice I can give you. It is about what happens in mid and the PvE mechanics. There is always 3 different sets of mechanics you have to deal with. You either get towers, stacks, or the annoying AoE following you, especially if you're a black mage. If you have any mechanics that can be targeted on a player, just use it at your advantage and run towards any enemy teams. I know it sounds dumb, but trust me, it bears a high degree of success because players would have a brain fart and not compute the idea of a player from an enemy team stacking with them, therefore they will not be using their guard because they are stunned in real life. Frontline is chaotic by design. 24 players cannot be on the same page, but thanks to this carnage, I believe this is a very good and robust way for an inexperienced player to try it out. There is no real pressure because if you win, it's good. If you lose, you didn't know what you were doing, or there might be a plethora of excuses you can come up with. You can get screwed over by the RNG or get into a game against the Malignant Discord. Besides that, I think Frontlines is a good break from whatever you are farming in this game because it only takes 15 to 20 minutes, which is an average dungeon run, and it makes your job feel different yet familiar. This different identity in terms of gameplay and the discovery phase might even get people interested in seeing every job's PvP duration, and maybe trying them all, even the ones you may not be particularly fond of. And I'm talking from experience here, because never in my entire life I would play a ranged job willingly. I am somebody that really likes to get into close range and beat the shit out of people. Yet, I sometimes play Bard or Machinist in PvP because they're really fun to play. My overall thought about Frontline is it's pretty fun, but I can't really say the same about Crystalline Conflict though. Crystalline Conflict is their esports game mode. It's 5v5 and the core concept is a payload map like in Marvel Rivals or Overwatch, with its own twist. Crystalline Conflict do not have one team with a fixed role of attackers and another one stuck with defending. Both teams attacks and defend at the same time. Every single game in this game mode doesn't really matter if it's ranked or casual, it doesn't really matter about what elo you're in, all the games are usually 4 or 5 DPSs against 4 or 5 DPSs. Anyway, this game mode has several maps rotating every 90 minutes, which changes the layout and the potential stage hazards. There's just one map with nothing very particular about it. It simply serves as the foundation of elements you will see in other maps like healing potions and speed corridors. It is called the Palestra. Honestly, like I said, not a lot of things to say about it. Let's move on to the next map in La Noscea. Volcanic Heart is a map I enjoy, simply due to the early game aggression it forces onto players. This is a godsend for me, because it is completely different from any other map available in the pool. In other maps, people will just stand there, wait 30 seconds until the chains are unbound from the crystal, and then start fighting. Anyway, this stage's main hazard is eruption. Your screen will turn orange and the volcano on the background will start acting up. This will lead to some bombs spawning a little bit randomly on the map, and they will blow up on a plus shape. Once they disappear, they leave behind an orange orb, which will increase your damage output for a few seconds. So it's very important to get those orbs and then force a fight. I told you about the bombs blowing up on a plus shape. They deal lethal damage, unless you guard it, but if you do, it simply invites your enemy team to beat you up. On to the next map, Cloud9. This is one of the maps I hate the most because there's still a 30-second cooldown of courtesy between players before we actually start fighting. The main gimmick of this map is weather-based. It's called turbulences. So basically, there will be a countdown, and once it reaches 0, everybody that doesn't guard it will get bumped. There's another way to prevent it. It's just running after a black chocobo icon on the ground, so when you get bumped, you catch a black chocobo feather, which will negate full damage and give you some buffs. The reason why I hate the turbulence hazard a lot is because it forces everyone to use their guard when I think it's unnecessary. It might be useful because it soft resets the state of the game for everyone, but according to all the games I have played on this map, it never really leveled the playing field. The team that has advantage over the position compared to the other team will always win the fights. Next up is Clockwork Castletown. It has hidden doors that teleport you next to your team's checkpoint or near the middle of the map. There is also some tatami mats that will knock you up and deal damage if you stay on for an extended period of time. And then there's two other gimmicks that are part of the Automaton Show. Each side of the map will have one mechanical puppet, one mechanical priest, and one mechanical samurai. They will move from checkpoints to checkpoints and they will activate their skills. The priest will turn you mini if you do a glare contest against him, and the samurai will do a chariot, which could be guarded, but again, I don't recommend doing it unless it's overtime. During the show, there will be some pile of gills spawning a little bit randomly on the map. It's mainly there to refill your LB gauge, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go to Ul'dah and its jurisdiction and talk about Red Sands. This map is, without any doubt, the one I hate the most. It has two main hazards here: random NPC enemies encounter and Heatwave. Random NPC enemies encounter isn't really a bad idea. It slows down progression towards the enemy base, but it's nothing game-breaking. Heatwave is such a bad idea. It makes sense, but from a gameplay standpoint, I'm really confused, because I don't really understand what the battle designers on this map were thinking or intended players to do during Heatwave. I don't really know if they expected players to go through all our MP and then fight on the point with no NP, which at the end of the day will just favor jobs with built-in sustain in their kit compared to the ones that doesn't have that. It's the final map from the Crystalline Conflict pool at the time of writing this video. Bayside Battleground is located in Chiralao, and there's not a lot of gimmicks actually. It's a simple map with only a jump pad that shoots you straight into action. In this map, you don't really have the 30-second cooldown of courtesy because everyone will take the jump pad and start fighting. If there is one player out of the 10 in the lobby that doesn't want to fight early game, they are crowned the biggest bitch of the game and they will be focused 24/7. I don't make the rules, this is how it is. So I guess it's time for me to share my thoughts about this game mode. It was very negative, and given its status as the main esports mode promoted through offline and online tournaments, I will probably not be as lenient as I was with Frontlines, but it feels very bad to play. Like, really, really bad. I have lost countless games through the exact same pattern. It's overtime, I die by contesting the point while all my team is alive and next to me. But then I just see them 20 kilometers away when we are on the losing side, therefore giving the enemy teams the win. I may not know all the cooldowns and abilities from all the jobs, but this is base knowledge about Crystalline Conflict. I am surprised to say this, and I should not be saying that actually, but go read the rules. It's available in the Wolf's Den, in-game, or if you are too lazy to boot up the game, just go on Lodestone and then there is a page telling you how to play Crystalline Conflict. This can be brushed off as it's just casual games in Crystalline Conflict, so win or loss it doesn't really matter. What matters is focusing on yourself and noticing what you did good or what you did bad. Then let's talk about another issue that ruined my experience in this game mode. AFK players. I am not a heartless, ignorant prick. I know some things can happen in real life that requires your immediate attention, and if you have AFK due to these circumstances, that is fine. I am not talking about you. However, if you're telling me I AFK'd because my goldfish is drowning or because you think my team is bad and there is no point in playing, go fuck yourself. If you're paying your subscription to be AFK, at least do it in Limsa Lominsa like everyone else does, Recently, I've been having a lot more AFK players on my team, and that sucks. Especially because Frontline doesn't have the auto-kick feature for being AFK like there is in Frontlines because of how lobbies are made. The following issue doesn't really affect me anymore because I just stopped playing ranked games after I learned about it, but I will still mention it anyway. There's a lot of cheaters and match fixers in Europe. It doesn't really matter if it's light or chaos, there are cheaters. But is it surprising? Not really. If there is any degree of competition, there will always be cheaters, and it's so accessible in Final Fantasy XIV actually. Every time there is a race to world first for an ultimate, there will always be some drama involving third-party tools related to cheating, and I thought, PvP is such a niche content in the game, there won't be any cheaters, but I cannot believe how naive and wrong I was. I saw so many threads and videos and screenshots related to PvP cheaters and match fixers, it was jaw-dropping. And you know what baffles me? Knowing these players won't have any severe punishment. As a matter of fact, they will be banned for 3 to 20 days, according to Square Enix Support Center. When you think about it, that is so fucked up, because if the cheaters get caught, the punishment is a slap on the wrist, and if you try to do the right thing and expose match fixing or cheating problems, you will get punished, or even worse, you could get a 40-page long Google Doc on your ass. I briefly mentioned it, but there is also match fixing problems in ranked games. But this is not really surprising, it has always been there in any sports or esports. Usually it's for money, but all the things I have read regarding match fixing was just for bragging rights. With that said, I have covered 3 issues that are rampant in Crusade Conflict, and while the match fixing issue didn't really affect me because I didn't really go that far in the ranked ladder, I only go to Platinum and that's pretty much it, I've been hit by the AFK players, even in ranked, and the cheaters. But I've been made aware of this problem years after I decided to stop playing this game mode, specifically because it was very frustrating, and now that I know why, then I don't really want to set foot to this game mode ever again. Obviously it's just my experience with this game mode, yours might be different. I genuinely hope Square Enix does something to enforce rules and make the punishment a little bit more severe if they happen to catch a cheater in PvP, because as of right now, it just opens the door to anybody downloading a cheat and use it in ranked games without getting any severe punishment. Anyway, that's pretty much it, I'll see you in the next one.